Hello there, universe! So, Mass Effect Andromeda is coming out soon. Am I excited? Yeah, I'm kind of excited. But before we embrace the future, let's take a look at the past, and let's explore the best and worst moments of this franchise. And of course, we're starting with the worst. These are the top 10 worst Mass Effect moments. Number 10. The combat in Mass Effect 1. Despite the series supposedly being an action RPG, they more often than not leant one way more than the other. Mass Effect 3 had more emphasis on the action, Mass Effect 1 had more emphasis on the RPG, and Mass Effect 2 actually had a pretty good balance. It's almost as if you're a perfect game or something. Mwah. Because of this, the first game can sometimes feel awkward. Movement feels very restricted, taking cover can be uncooperative, and even just shooting people can be a pain in the ass for the first half of the game. Yeah, the more you play it, the more you get used to it, but that doesn't change the fact that for a first-time player, this can make the game really unappealing. Also, I know it doesn't count as gameplay, but autosave can rot in hell! Number 9. Space mining in Mass Effect 2. Can you think of a better usage of the word tedious? Because that's exactly what all this was. Really slow exploration for resources that took forever. Now this isn't as bad if you're playing on PC, but on consoles it will really test your patience. Thankfully this was fixed in Mass Effect 3 and all it took was a single button to scan a planet, but in Mass Effect 2 it's not fun, it's not engaging, and the only good thing about it is this little gag.
Probing Uranus.
I'm a 10-year-old. Number 8. Little dialogue circle in Mass Effect 3. Like I said, Mass Effect 3 tended to focus on the action more than the RPG, and sadly that meant everyone's favourite dialogue wheel didn't pop up as often. In the first two games, the little thing would appear almost every line of dialogue, really helping it make you feel like it was your story and your conversation. But in Mass Effect 3, entire conversations would go by and it would barely make an appearance. Sadly, this was only the first sign of a less involved experience, but we'll get to that later. Number 7. Copycat side missions in Mass Effect 1. Yeah, this is another common complaint. Usually when it comes to RPGs, the side missions are one of the best parts. They flesh out the universe, give you a chance to level up, get some more time to know the characters, but in the first Mass Effect game, every single side mission was the exact fucking same. You get the same opening animation, the same layout of the planet, the same gameplay, the same, well, everything! Just put on a new coat of paint and apparently that qualifies as a new mission. Then of course there's the Mako. I really like the Mako. Yeah, it can be really difficult to control and it really drags out the missions, but I actually enjoyed that. It made each side mission just a little bit more fun to sit through, and trust me, with missions as monotonous as these, I needed something to keep myself occupied. Number 6. Jacob's romance from Mass Effect 2 and 3. Looking back, some of the romances in Mass Effect were actually some of the most engaging stories. The great chemistry and slow burn with Liara, the tragedy and honesty with Thane, the flirtatious banter with Garrus, a lot of them were believable and personal in their own ways and left an impact on you. Unless of course you romance Jacob, in which case it leaves absolutely no impact. Not only was his romance in Mass Effect 2 one of the least interesting and special, but no matter what you do, he dumps you in Mass Effect 3 after he's already started dating and gotten pregnant another woman. Jesus Christ, what a bosh-ted. I've always felt Jacob never deserved the hate he's gotten, but if you're someone who romanced him and then had this in your near future, yeah, I totally get why you'd be pissed. The romance was supposed to be one of those ways how we would bond with these characters, get to know them better than we would if we didn't get with them. Sadly with Jacob, there's really nothing of substance to this fling. Number 5. Ashley's bitchiness. There are very few bad characters in Mass Effect, and I'd say there are worse characters like Saeed. God, I hate that guy. But he's a DLC character and not vital to the story, so I decided to leave him off the list. Ashley, on the other hand, yeah, you're kind of stuck with her for at least one game. But let's say for some reason you don't kill her off with Vermeer, Here's how her story goes throughout all 3 games. In Mass Effect 1, she's a hardcore xenophobe who is incredibly arrogant with daddy issues. In Mass Effect 2, she's not all that impressed that you came back from the dead and is just pissed you haven't called her in the past 2 years.
You haven't called me in months.
I have been dead!
Oh, well, that's not stopping you now, is it?
Then finally in Mass Effect 3, she's actually alright there. But of course she's never going to make it to Mass Effect 3 because you shot Rex in the back, you disobedient bitch! Number 4. Caden's boringness. Yeah, well, Ashley may have a bitchy personality, at least there is still a personality to begin with. Caden, I don't really know what this guy is. In Mass Effect 1 he comes across as very passive but still loyal, but in Mass Effect 2 he just plays the exact same role Ashley does. It is really inconsistent. Come Mass Effect 3 he's suddenly very unsure of Shepard, very weary to trust him, and apparently is up for Spectre? Where the hell did any of this come from? Oh right, they're just giving him this story because it was set up for Ashley. Because, while I may complain about her, she does still have a role in Mass Effect, unlike Caden. But with that being said, I would still pick Caden over Ashley because you shot Rex in the back, you disobedient... Number 3. Jafek Day 1 DLC in Mass Effect 3. I know I said I wasn't going to include Zaid because he was DLC, but this is a completely different story. Yeah, technically you can play the game without him, but that's like saying you can technically go ice skating without skates. I may be slipping and sliding, but it's not the same thing. Jafek is a Prothean. His story ties in heavily with the Reapers, with Liara, with Shepard's beacon visions. This is such an important character and he was saved for DLC! In fact, no, that's what makes it worse. This wasn't DLC they developed months down the line, this was Day 1 DLC. Meaning it was produced alongside the original game, released on the exact same day as the original game, and EA had the balls to charge us extra for it. It's shit like this which is why DLC gets such a bad rap, especially in a series that has so much good DLC. This was a big black mark, even with worse DLC out there. This was DLC for no other reason than greed, and that is unforgivable. Number 2. No survival options in Mass Effect 3. You know what made the ending to Mass Effect 2 so superb? The fact that literally every character can live or die depending on how you play through it. When I first went on the suicide mission, every time someone died, I felt like it was my fault. Like if I had done something differently, then I could have saved them. Well, Mass Effect 3 decides to fuck all that up. Doesn't matter which side you choose between the Quarians or the Geth, or if you're able to help them work out the differences, Legion's gonna die. Doesn't matter if the Genophage is cured or not, Mordin's gonna die. Hell, with Thane, it doesn't really matter one way or another. You can't do anything. He's always gonna get stabbed, and even if he somehow didn't get stabbed, he's gonna die of that damn Keprel syndrome anyway. Now it should be said I don't actually have a problem with the death scenes themselves. In fact, I think they're some of the most emotional scenes in the franchise. You bet your ass I was on the verge of tears when Mordin started singing to save the Krogans. But these scenes completely take away that feeling of choice. That thing that was so prevalent in the prior games, and it's what made these stories so personal and compelling. If people died, it was on you. These deaths are unstoppable, and that makes them less effective, less emotional, and kind of ruins the moment when you realise there was nothing you could have done, effectively taking away all of the player's control. Say, speaking of taking away our control, and the number 1 worst moment from Mass Effect is the ending to Mass Effect 3. Pre-DLC. This is something that has been talked about to death. Any and all Mass Effect fans know exactly why this ending sucks. The lack of closure, the multitude of plot holes, the bitter ending, the complete betrayal of these characters, the bullshit reasoning from the stupid Star Child that makes absolutely no goddamn sense. I don't want to repeat a sentiment that's been expressed by better YouTubers, but instead, let's try and look at the silver lining here. Like I said, all those complaints are stuff from the pre-DLC. The extended ending does answer some of the problems. We do get a better explanation of the origins of the Reapers, we do get to see the consequences of everything we've put into the game, and we're given at least a hint of better things to come. Honestly, what makes it even better is the Citadel DLC, which does technically take place before the ending, but come on, we all like to pretend it takes place after the ending because it gives us what we wanted. But in reality, the ending we got was still a massive disappointment when it first came out, and even now, it's still not perfect and does still leave a bit of a void in our hearts for not getting what we wanted. I appreciate that BioWare did go the extra mile to try and improve it, as well as give the DLC out for free, but none of this can change the complete disaster that was the ending to this trilogy, and the worst moment in all of Mass Effect. Well then, those are my thoughts on the absolute worst moments from this brilliant franchise. Let me know what the worst moments you think are in the comments down below, and stay tuned for next week when we're talking about the absolute best Mass Effect moments. Till then, see you later, universe.